Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums. Today with one of these show me how you practice videos. So today, as you can see, I have all these things in front of me. I wanted to talk about Grimoires and Book of Shadows and kind of how I'm trying to manage my own and why I have different ones for different things. I've talked about different journals that I keep and why on my channel. So if you've watched any of my other educational or show me how you practice videos, some of these are going to look a little familiar. So I recently attended a class here online through one of the local covens. It's the Root and Bone Coven. Here in Colorado Springs. They did a Grimoire and Book of Shadows class, which was extremely informative, and I took away so much information from it that I decided to kind of restructure some of the things I was already using and things that I already have on hand, because I love just using things I already have, right? And not having to spend extra money on things or whatever. Now, it is great to have a beautiful tool to kind of utilize in your practice. And you'll see I do have some specific things I am using, but I kind of wanted to explain why I still feel like I want to have everything a little bit separated and why. So for those of you guys that have watched my ancestral practices and grimoire video, this is going to be very familiar because this is still my ancestral grimoire, and this is where I am still trying to complete my year of ancestral veneration using Nancy Hendrickson's books. And while it is one of these things where it's a practice that I unfortunately tend to kind of step away from, not because of anything that has to do with the actual practice of it. I'm a person. I'm a person with ADHD, and I'm very busy. And then I kind of go into like the next, ooh, shiny thing. And so this will remain my ancestral grimoire in the sense of doing journaling, card readings in here, card pulls, just kind of discussing and writing down information about the people that are in my family and people that I know are with me energetically and spiritually. So I will keep this as its own kind of separate entity, which I think is great. And I think it's something that works for me and kind of how my brain works. Now, one of the other ones that you've probably seen on here is my little manifestation. And this was just like, I was calling it my manifestation journal. I guess it would kind of be a little bit of a book of shadows, because there is some, like magical things in here, like my sigils and things like that. And one of the practices that I do with this is something called scripting, which is really nice. And I haven't done it very much, as you can see. I just kind of do different things in here. So I'll do like card readings. I will just write, sketching, doing some like things, kind of just like some artwork, just things like that, just to kind of like focus the energy on the things that I really want. I kind of added some different things in here. I have like my goals, my desires. I have some of the things some questions that I want to journal on that I haven't really had the time to do yet. Just, kind of keeping it simple. And yes, I do kind of pre-paste some stuff if I find something that I like. So these are some virtual collages I did a couple of years ago on an app that no longer exists, but I have been using Shoplook for collages, and it's been fun. I really do enjoy it. And I know you can also do them on Canva if you're looking for a way to create collages or virtual vision boards. So I think I'm going to keep this as its own separate thing, because it is something that is consistently changing and growing. And I really like having this just be focused on what I want to manifest and the good things in my life, if that makes sense. Not saying that I don't add it into some of the other books that I have, but I think that this is good. So I'll probably just keep that as its own separate thing. And then when I talked about shadow work, this is my shadow work journal. So again, it's not going to be like a book of shadows. It is a lot of journaling and things of that nature, which again, I have not really been keeping up with as much as I would like. I do have something I want to talk about in here that I haven't made the time to kind of sit down and write about and talk about. And I think this month is going to be a great time because as we're kind of coming to like the lunar new year and things of that nature, I like want to kind of release this energy that I feel like I've been hanging on to from this previous year. So again, I'm going to keep this as its own kind of separate entity, although I will maybe take some of the more universal lessons out of this and out of the other ones as well and kind of put it into a quote unquote grimoire or book of shadows. Because to me, especially after taking that class, I kind of saw that it was like, it's more of like your own personal practice, like your own experiments, your own, the things that you're learning, how you're doing things, you know. And sometimes I just do things like this where I'll just write everything down. Like this is going to be the February 2026 kind of energies and other things of like the different astrological things. Thank you to Beyond the Veil for doing her videos and stuff like that. It makes it real easy to just kind of grab that and kind of have it on my own here so I can kind of like look at the dates as we're kind of progressing through the month. So this is what I had originally purchased probably it's been quite a few years, at least 6 or 7 years ago, as my like just to kind of sketch and do things. I, you know, really wanted something. I like to do writing. Again, as you can tell, I write a lot. I do write a lot of different things. I was putting different things in here. I like to sketch, you know, and talk about stuff. When my, my soul dog passed away, I kind of put like some of his paw prints in here before, like once he had, you know, been put down. I was kind of doing notes from like, you know, different classes I was going to. And then this is like my soul dog's like last thing, and me just kind of writing my goodbye to him, because he kind of went downhill very quickly, unexpectedly, which is usually how it goes, right? So I have been taking some of the elements out of here and kind of putting it in other books. So I'm going to kind of show you guys what I've been doing the last month or so. I mean, and this is like the culmination of a lot of years of things I've collected and kind of put together. It's not just like, I'll show you the stuff that I've kind of put together in the last few weeks, but then also like, I love the happy planners. I've been using this kind of system, I think, for about 10 or 11 years now. My first one was this one. This is one that my best friend who passed away gave me many, many moons ago. She knew I loved planners, and this was such a cool system because you can kind of edit it as much as you want. So intentionally, when I first got it, it was very much just a planner. And then I started adding witchy things in here. So I've just, over the years, as I was trying to like figure out how to reuse this, a lot of these things were things that I had kind of added in the original, and then I ended up just cutting everything out and just making these kind of weird little collages with it, which I think works. I mean, I love it because it's still like all these pieces of things that I've written down for myself, reminders, quotes, you know, stickers, things that kind of are significant to me and make sense to me. And I think it's kind of made it really fun. Now, I'm going to use this one as like my own kind of personal book, I guess, of things that I'm learning, things that I'm writing down, not so much educational stuff. So I'm calling this section my moon magic. So I try to do where I'm journaling during the significant kind of moon phases when I remember, because your girl be forgetting everything. That's why I'm like, let me write stuff down so I can remember to do journaling, especially when there are significant moon phases that are very close to my own personal planets, you know, or personal transits and things like that. It's nice to kind of have that reflection later on, especially now as we're kind of moving into the Leo Aquarius eclipses, which I am a Leo rising. So for me, I feel like there's going to be some very significant shifts and changes. So it's nice to have something to kind of reflect back on. And I have some of the notes from the last time I went through this stuff and all of the changes. I also have just like a journaling, again, just to kind of journal, just to kind of write. I usually do like my solar return kind of notes and thoughts on what I've experienced, what I'm looking forward to, things like that. Now I did add this section of collages because, again, as you can tell, I kind of like, you know, the little, I don't want to say junk journaling because it's not really junk journaling, but similar in the sense of I'm just kind of building out these little collages, kind of doing things like this that makes sense to me. And then I was also doing a little bit of journaling on some of these. So I've kind of written things down, kind of added different things that kind of make sense to me. What it means to kind of like reflect on all of this stuff while it was still, it's like journaling, but then also the collages are significant to me. So there was a lot of that I wanted to kind of have in here. And so it's not really so much, maybe this is more a personal grimoire, I guess we can look at it that way. It's not so much educational as the other one I'm going to show you is, more focused on things like that. So I do have like some prayers and stuff in here, which will keep here, even though I've made a different section in the other book that I've made, and I haven't finished. Like, I've just made the pages and I didn't finish yet, like with the, but I wanted to just have them kind of there for when I feel inspired. I also try to keep track of card spreads that are significant. I try to do like annual ones, keeping track of things, kind of making my own notes. I think it's good to have something where like you can kind of reflect. I have like my other tarot spreads that I would do for like the year with like my own kind of energy, you know, things like that. So I can kind of like reflect back at the end of the year, like, oh, like how did that show up? How did this, you know, look? How does this make sense? You know, I have like my own birthday readings in here as well as like other spreads that like were significant. So I have like the Santa Marta spread in here. I have the in-bulk spread. I have like weekly check-ins that I was doing. We're going to kind of pass those so I don't upset anybody. And then I have like my birthday reading from last year. So I have space for this upcoming one. And then I have my one for this last Capricorn new moon, you know, things like that. And then I just have like a note section and just that. So again, it's kind of like an active living book for me of things that make sense. And so while the Happy Planner doesn't like sell it this way, that's how I'm using it. I know, I mean, we have free will, right? And this is how I'm using my free will. Now, this is what I'm going to be calling my, I guess, Book of Shadows more so, because I feel like this one's going to be more of like those things of really focusing a little bit more on what I have. And you're going to see a lot of these collages again because I accidentally printed them out too many times, but it is what it is. So here I have what I'm calling my passion proposal section, and these are just different like vision boards, things like that, where I've journaled about different things. I've shown these on my vision boards video and little things of that nature. I wanted to keep them. I have always kept a lot of stuff like this because it's just nice to have something to reflect back on. That might just be my Cancer moon speaking. And here in this section, I am calling this my witchy wisdom. And so here I have just been, again, kind of collaging different things. Now, I mentioned it during one of my planners video. So I did get this, the 2026 Witches Diary for the Southern Hemisphere accidentally. So that was my bad. And then I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to use this. So I decided we're going to junk journal with it because there's a lot of really cute art in here and information. I'm going to show you. A lot of this is from this book, and I've kind of added my own stuff. So a lot of these little images, things like this, and then I added extra things that made sense for me, and what I wanted to kind of put in here. So I have like witch's wisdom, you know, things like that, the energy of crystals. I started adding like my own information of stuff that like I've learned over the years, especially like for candles, like candle meanings of color or magical meanings of colors for those of us that use color magic, you know, if you want to call it that, for candle burning, for, you know, what we're wearing, what we're doing, things of that nature. It's just really nice to have things like that. And then this also was something that was inside of here. You're going to see a lot of pages that are like literally just out of this book because I was like, this is great. This is good information. So this is why I was like, I'm going to call this like my book of shadows. And then we have, you know, things of this nature. So it's educational. And I was trying to make it look nice and put together. And I was reusing old pages from some of my other happy planners because again, they don't really make pages like this. So I was kind of reusing stuff, and I buy like blank note pages usually through them that are already punched. I'm sure I could just get a hole puncher and cut down pages. I haven't made it that far yet. I just reuse stuff. So I was, you know, doing like moon magic stuff here, you know, and then I took this out of the 2020 Boland Moonology like diary that she had a couple years ago. I really liked how she kind of explains the lunar cycles and things like that. I think it's important to have stuff like this where you have an understanding of how these moon phases work. And then I also have the moon phase information from this guidebook or from this diary. Some stuff on like goddesses. I have some stuff here that I've kind of like just put together that was cute to me and makes sense to me. Some goddess wisdom from other goddesses that were included in here. Stuff about, you know, witch wounds and, you know, witch wisdom as far as like astrology. Again, if you can't tell, I love astrology. And I don't talk about it as much on my channel. I feel like there's people that are much better well-versed than I am. And then I also haven't figured out how I want to record an astrology video because I also don't want to be in front of the camera. So again, if you've watched any of my other Show Me How You Practice videos, you've probably seen some stuff like this. So I just was making it kind of make sense. And I do have some blank pages in here because I haven't finished exactly. I have some, you know, animal familiars in here that I want to kind of finish journaling on. Some different things about, you know, hearth magic, you know, tree magic, using different woods to kind of connect in different ways. Some kitchen witchery, you know, with like different herbs and how to use them. I haven't finished doing this, but I was like doing pages like this where it's like, you know, how to make a money bowl, how to make money oil recipe. So there's like also glamour magic stuff in here, ritual magic, cauldron magic, you know, so it's very informative. And then I have stuff like this where as someone that is looking at possibly getting a hysterectomy this year, I wanted to kind of leave this open so I could have some time to kind of journal about that experience and what will come up with that and what it means to me. And then also, you've probably seen this if you've watched any of my other videos about sigils. So again, and I still have this as like my learning and education. So if I'm like learning different things, I'm going to kind of put it here, all my notes on stuff, and, you know, keeping this stuff like available is nice, you know, and how to do, you know, vision boards, creating your own house cleanse, you know, different notes. Here's information on that grimoire class that I took. I also have like different card spreads that I really like and reuse. I have them just here. The card spreads themselves, not card pools like the other Happy Planner will have like the actual card pools with like my own journaling, but this is nice to just kind of have them here. And these are some of the ones that I've shared on here, and I have other ones that I want to share. I just, again, have been a little bit limited for time as far as when I can record. And then I have education and sessions here. So this is stuff I've learned. These are like from different sessions I've done with other readers or other, you know, I guess we can say field experts. And then I have some stuff here that I had kind of brainstormed on with my best friend before she passed away. I haven't really figured out what I want to do with that yet. And then here I'm calling this my budget area. I just have, again, kind of like some vision board stuff, some manifesting, you know, things like that that I've kind of put together, some different elements that I feel will be very beneficial for helping me kind of work through my own money and abundance blocks. I've been reading the Money Magic book by the Money Witch. I've listened to another I've listened to like 4 or 5 different books called Money Magic. And so they've all been very different in like their themes and the things that they talk about. So it's been really nice to focus on what I'm trying to do for myself. Like, as far as what I'm trying to kind of shift out of. And then I just have some other areas here. So I have like a prayers, and I have like, you know, cleansing prayer. I have some other things here. I have like an aura cleanse, you know, different things like that, protection prayers, return to sender prayers. There is, you know, some really nice positive affirmations here to kind of help me kind of remind myself in different ways. And then I also have like Santissima Muerte prayers in here. I have some Hecate prayers in here as well that I really love to kind of lean into. It is nice to have different options, especially when you're like, you know, trying to do different things. And so this is why I wanted to kind of make this my Book of Shadows, my grimoire, because it's more of the educational stuff versus like my own personal like journaling, if that makes sense. And I can always like put them together, I guess, if I wanted to. I mean, they'd be pretty fat because I have the big fat rings already, and and I have 2 of them. So that is kind of where I'm at with what I'm doing for my own kind of personal grimoire, Book of Shadows. Let me know if you guys use one. Is this something that like you have been looking at using in your own practice? I was always a little bit intimidated, not to lie here, because I was always like, oh my God, it's got to be like beautiful and workable and this and that. And I, again, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I'm not always the kindest to myself about things. Maybe not being 100% perfect. So I want to know what your experience is with grimoires. What do you think? Do you think like it has to be like a completely beautiful, perfect project? Do you feel like it should be like a living document? What do you guys think? I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you are doing well and taking care of yourself. Stay warm and stay safe, and also make good choices. Bye.